Well, here we are again with another special road edition of Spilling the Tea in Studio D. And this particular episode, we're at the home of the Mountain Pine Red Devils right there. See, I'm not even lying. We got devil pride going on right there. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that, Candace?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, you missed it earlier. I said he is a red devil. Yeah. Literally a red devil because he's so mean to me all the time.
For all those in podcast land, write that down. Candace had a quick one. So, all right. Well, enough about us. We're pleased today. We'll let you introduce yourself and tell us what you do here at Mountain Pine.
Okay. My name is Melissa Munroe. I am the K-12 GT coordinator and teacher. Mm-hmm. So I provide the gifted and talented services here at Mountain Pine. Mm-hmm. This is next year will actually be my 16th year here.
Wow.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yes.
You've been your whole time here? Or did you?
I actually started out at Mount Ida.
Okay.
Yeah. Graduated in 2007 with my bachelor's degree. And at that point I was like, well, I guess I should just start applying places, you know?
Right.
I mean, yeah. So I got a phone call from Mount Ida, and she said, I know you didn't apply here, but we saw your name on a roster from Henderson. You know, would you be interested in a position? I said, oh my gosh, this is great. Sure, I didn't even have to put in any effort. Right. She said, it's kindergarten.
Oh.
Yes. So, I mean, I was 21. I started teaching early, and I thought, kindergarten, this is going to be so good. This is great. You know, the little ones are so cute. And, no, that wasn't for me.
Darren and I are both secondary, so no.
I mean, the kindergarten teachers are not given enough credit. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, the patience and there's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, my sister-in-law's been a kindergarten teacher for like 20. This is year 28, I think, all but 1 year, and I'm just like, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. Next year will be my 18th year in education. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So where's home for you?
I live in Royal, Arkansas.
Is that where you're born and raised down in that area?
I was born in Piercy.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't born in Piercy, but I was raised in Piercy. Yeah. I graduated.
She was born in a car.
I was. Yes. I graduated from Lake Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah. 2003. Graduated from there, and then so I got a scholarship, an honor scholarship, to go to National Park, Garland.
Gotcha.
I went there for 2 years, and then I got a transfer scholarship to go to Henderson. Mm-hmm. So I pretty much rode through college on scholarships and stuff. Had to, of course, pay the fees and buy my books and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I graduated from Henderson in 2007 with a bachelor's degree, pre-K through 4th grade. And so then I took, of course, the job at Mount Ida. I was there for 2 years. But it was a class size reduction. And so I really wasn't guaranteed, a job every year.
Right.
So that's when I kind of started applying, obviously, around here in Garland County, and landed here at Mountain Pine. So
I love it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So have you always been GT here?
I have not. Okay. When I first came here, I started as 3rd grade, self-contained classroom. And then I moved to 4th, math and science.
Okay.
So I taught 4th several years.
Cool.
Yeah, I like 4th grade. Yeah.
They're sweet.
Yeah, they're a little more independent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not, I wasn't tying shoes all day and
wiping noses, tying
like
shoes.
That, so
tying shoes, wiping noses, that kind of stuff. It's basically like working with Candace. You know what I'm saying? Something always going on.
Yeah,
you just have to be referee on this podcast.
Yeah.
So.
Katie, we can just wiggle the mouse.
Yeah. So
it times out. Yeah.
What I was going to say is, as far as GT goes, I mean, a lot of folks here are GT, gifted and talented, and think about it, from a school standpoint. When I say school standpoint, what goes on in a school, but there's other outside competitions, those kinds of things. So, of all the competitions that you guys participate in, what's one of the most popular ones here?
Quiz Bowl.
Quiz Bowl?
Quiz Bowl, yeah. Yeah. My elementary kids really love, to play chess and stuff like that. But, yeah, we do the junior high Quiz Bowl and senior high Quiz Bowl and stuff like that. So, yeah. Oh.
We should have brought some questions in here to see if Darren could have gotten them.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. I will own that right now.
Yeah. I was really proud. Last year, my seventh grade won first place. Then they played up and played eighth graders and won first place again.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, next week they go. They're eighth graders now. So next week they go. And, I think we're going to do good.
So how do you prep for Quiz Bowl? Is that, that's got to be an ongoing thing, right?
It is, yeah. So we kind of divvy up some topics and stuff. Each student has their strong point, their strong area. We've got sports, we've got math, and things like that. So and some of it's just general knowledge, that useless stuff that you've got up in your brain.
Yeah.
And so we practice and we have rounds and
it's kind of a neat thing to watch on. I guess PBS still carries it. I hadn't watched it probably in a couple of years. When they get to the finals, and it's just like anything else. It's so competitive. Sometimes they'll hit the button, and then they're like, you can see that look going, "Oh, I just lost it." So.
Yeah. They sometimes they kind of clam up, freeze up, stuff like that. They know it, but it's like they can't get it out. Know. So.
Well, and the other thing I think about those types of competitions, again, I'm a big believer in rolling out something for everybody, right?
Sure.
And so a lot of times it may or may not be kids that participate in other extracurricular activities, and so that's that's their area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
One of the things that my GT kids really like about having the resource setting that we have is, sometimes it's just good to be around like-minded people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, sometimes the higher kids are, peer tutors and stuff like that, and of course they enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
They're good help,
right.
in the classroom, but
absolutely.
Kind of being down here where they just can associate with the ones around them.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did the opportunity for you to become the GT person at Mountain Pine come about?
Oh, well, one year they took me from fourth grade to second grade. Yeah. And that was a culture shock.
Yeah.
I went from independent fourth graders to, a second grade student that wasn't sure when his birthday was, and it's just I was like, once again, I don't know if this is for me. And so Mountain Pine had hired a GT coordinator that it wasn't for her. So it probably wasn't 3 weeks, month into school, we had the position open. And at that time, Bobby Gray was our superintendent.
Right.
And so he reached out to me and said, we kind of been thinking about, somebody in-house that would be a good fit for that. And, kind of asked me if I was interested. And, I just rolled.
Awesome.
Yeah. Rolled with it. So
opportunity presented.
Yeah, and then so I had just recently got my master's degree in educational leadership. Funny story about that. My dad, he kept convincing me, you need to get your master's degree, and I'm like, well, number one, I think I've scholarshiped myself out,
Right.
And it's pretty pricey, to go back to college.
Yeah,
so, he mulled around on it, and he finally said, well, I'll pay for you to get your master's degree. If you graduate with A's and B's, you won't owe me a dime.
Yeah.
If you make a C, you have to pay back, all of the funds and tuition and stuff. So I graduated with 4.0.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I handed in the transcript, I said, that's my payment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so since I had a master's degree, I just had to get the GT endorsement.
Right.
So
it was awesome.
It was pretty quick going.
To that point, to the master's piece, again, I came to education kind of late in life, and like you're saying, going back, to the master's or whatever, and, I can remember, too, when I was there, my folks were like, well, what are you waiting on? If that's something you want to do, we'll help out or whatever. But it was so funny because as you know, I think mine was like a 3.89 in my master's, and my bachelor's was.
We won't go there. We won't go there.
And so my dad's question was, "Where was this?" You know, when you were in your bachelor, and I said,
"It took you a while to mature."
Yeah, it did. Yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Focus, baby. I said, maturity. I learned. You know,
it's called I need the money.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and you know, going through that master's program, though, I think as I look back on my career, that's probably one of the most, probably some of the most meaningful years in that. You're in there with like-minded practitioners.
Right, I agree with that.
And you're able to sit there and say, hey, you know, this is something I'm facing, or have you thought about it?
Right,
and I really enjoy that feedback.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of the, you know, people with the GT endorsement, going back for that,
right.
You know, we were all in the same boat. Like, we're trying to, you know, get into that position.
Right.
So, you know, we were able to, you know, bounce things off of each other as to, you know, how do you get started, and what is your services that your school offers, and, you know, stuff like that. So,
So do y'all do robotics of any kind?
Well, I don't per se. There is some going on at our high school.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as like, you know, computer sciences and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So
I've touched on coding a little in here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is a typical, or is there such thing as a typical year in GT? What would it look like? You know,
is education typical in here?
not anymore. That's for sure. Yeah.
Monitor and adjust.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. But this ain't your mama's education, right?
So just, you know, typical. Kindergarten through second, we see whole group for enrichment services.
Right.
Third through sixth is resource setting. They're pulled out. And then their requirement is 150 minutes a week.
Okay.
We go over that, obviously.
Sure.
But, and then the high school is primarily serviced, you know, through AP and honors classes or concurrent credit. We have a lot of students that are moving to concurrent credit. It's a way to kind of have, you know, college classes already under your belt. You know, you're ready to keep going and kind of fast track, you know, to get in. So
I was on a Zoom earlier this morning, and you know, the concurrent credit is something that's really being talked about again. You know, they kind of shifted away from it for a little bit, but it's you know, that and CTE obviously. But yeah, I could see, you know, what you do, leading kids down that path very easily.
Right. And we have a lot that attend VOTEC too.
Right.
You know.
Sure.
And, you know, college isn't necessarily for everyone.
Right. Absolutely.
But, I mean, we need trade jobs.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean.
That's what I was trying to, when I was in the schools telling kids, you know, you find what you give.
Exactly.
What are you passionate about? What do you love to do?
Right.
Because you can make a ton of money going to trade. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And you always need to know a guy. You need you need to know a plumber guy. And you need to know an electrician. You got to have those people.
Yeah. Well, some of the folks that Candace knows, you know,
whatever.
We won't get that.
No, let's not.
So
subject change.
Yeah, exactly. So the process for getting in to GT, do the kids test in?
Yes. So we look for, that's kind of why I start seeing kids in kindergarten.
Gotcha.
Early identification phases through there. And then we kind of start looking at, was ACT Aspire scores and stuff like that. Of course, we're moving to the Atlas, but we look at those, and teachers make their notes too along the way. And so, you know, there's ways to recommend a child for GT. We get a lot from, obviously, referrals from the teacher, classroom teacher, gen ed teacher. Administration could refer somebody, principal, you know, anything like that. And I've had a couple of parent referrals. Yeah.
Right.
So sometimes those GT kids get overlooked because maybe they're the good kid or the quiet kid.
Right.
You know, and you don't kind of hear, you know,
I've also seen it where they're super like artistic and but they don't really like studying, so their grades may not be great, but they will test in because they are so artistic and they've just got that mind.
Right. Yeah.
They may not have the motivation to.
So at Mountain Pine, we do the SAGES 2 test.
Okay.
There's 3 components of that. We've got the reasoning, language arts, social studies, math, and science.
Right.
And so the good thing about that is we don't take a composite score,
right.
for that. We look at each area because,
good.
like you had said, there's kids that excel in one area but maybe not the other.
And you don't want to miss, those kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's also a way to think about, the lessons and units that you want to provide for those students.
Yeah.
Right. You obviously want to target their interests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we give an NNAT test. It's a nonverbal test.
Okay.
So we don't have a lot of, English learners here in Mountain Pine, but if we did, that's a great test to to try to include those too.
Yeah.
So
back in the day, I've served on several of those committees as an administrator, but I remember the Otis Lennon, and it was always kind of a neat thing to see. Like they would give, let's just say there was always a section where they, for the creative piece, but it would be a circle, and then they would have to advance that circle into a different picture. And
that's the other test. I give the Williams creativity test.
Yeah.
Then they're given 12 frames, and there's a design or a line or something, and they have to turn that into something else.
Yeah.
So.
And it was always really cool just to see how each individual kid was able to take that and run with it,
I see so many that I'm like, I don't even know, that's awesome, but I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
But I encourage them, you can turn the paper, any way, that you see that, design.
That's a good way to roll that out.
Yeah. Then, of course, we have the committee. We go over, their test scores and stuff. And sometimes we don't have good test takers.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so that's why we meet as a committee to kind of talk about the whole kid.
Right.
What did they have a bad day? Are they a bad test taker? But we know that the program is a good fit for them. And so, one of the big things is they're being pulled out. Of a gen ed class. Are they able to keep up?
Right.
Are they responsible? Because when they leave my class and go back, they have to be willing to say, what did I miss? What can I make up?
Right.
So.
Have to have a little bit of that work.
So do you?
Yeah.
What is your favorite? I don't know if unit's the right terminology, but maybe your favorite thing that you do with your students.
I don't know that I do a whole. I mean, we do units. We had. Let me think. My favorite thing, but see, I don't know that I have a favorite thing because the units change. From year to year.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I do like to give them some independent research, and because that also taps into their interest.
Oh yeah. Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I don't want to keep pushing things on them.
Right.
That they just feel forced to do,
and then they're bored. Yeah.
And then they're not excited about GT, and they're not excited. It's just like rolling through the motions.
Right.
So one kid might be researching, if they're interested in history or whatever, and then another student might be working on something else. So kind of giving them a little
Mm-hmm.
independence. I'm just kind of here to make sure that they're staying on task.
Well, yeah, and you're hitting on something there that I think is very important. Obviously, as a GT teacher, is having patience, with these kids, to help them, grow and cultivate their passion, right? And like you say, these kids are a lot of them very creative. And so it's not, it's not your average kid as far as, being so structured, right?
Right.
So.
The thing about GT kids is they don't really like a challenge.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. Because they've always skirted by doing the bare minimum.
Right.
And it's gotten them this far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so, there is a little confrontation when it comes to challenging these kids. I get a little, pushback, because they think it's extra work. Nobody wants to really do, a lot. Those kids don't really want to do a lot of extra. But, I do have some twice exceptional kids, too. Some that have, 504s and, other regions and stuff like that. So, those, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
But, you talked about that, the extra, because we've heard that from kids, too. It's just hard to balance that where they don't see that as extra. It's tapping into things that they could do in the future that they
don't really think about enriching themselves right now.
So trying to make that connection with them is probably tough. Yeah.
Right. Because I get, when am I ever going to use that?
Oh, yeah. Well, in a school this size, too, obviously, you probably do have kids that are involved in other things, right, as far as extracurricular. And then, like you're saying, if you push them with an assignment or a task in here, they may see that. I could see that. So, but the cool thing about that is I think the more kids and that you have that are coming in from the different extracurricular activities, I think other kids look at it and say, that gives you an opportunity to grow your program.
Sure.
Oh, when are we going to use this? I'm a former math teacher. I got that every day.
Darn. Today, nobody asked me about the Pythagorean theorem.
Listen, but, because my dad's a carpenter, and so I could bring a lot of stuff in when they would say that, and then I'd get to one lesson and be like, all right, here's the deal. You're probably never going to use this again. But it's all about logic and seeing if you can solve problems. So let's just get through it,
Right.
Yeah.
But I was honest with him. I'm like,
my dad's an electrician too, and I mean, there's a lot of math. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, even down to reading a tape measure.
Oh yeah.
There's just so much,
I agree
that,
with you.
And so much that kids need to learn, but so many hours in a day, that they're with us, and so it's just important to get kids out. They need to get out and
be exposed. I agree.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Sometimes, some Mountain Pine kids, they don't have the opportunities.
Right.
So we run into that, and that's another reason why I like, being able to take them to the quiz bowls, and the chess and stuff like that. It's just very important.
It is nice, at least now with the technology, that you could bring in even virtual tours, and you can have. So you have some of that too that they can.
Right.
It's not actually being there and touching it and see, but you still can maybe peek.
Yeah, the visual is still great. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and like you're saying with the competitions, and with lots of students, that may be their first and or only exposure to higher education.
Right.
That might be their first time to step foot on a college campus and actually be able to see what that looks like. So
yes, and in fact, yesterday when I took my fifth graders, but all of our competitions this year have been at Arkansas State University, Three Rivers, over in Malvern. And so one of the rooms is a lecture hall style, they're like, we've only seen that on TV. The colleges really are set up like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So and it's great that that ASU hosts us there, because sometimes if they don't get to go see other colleges, at least they might be like, oh, I remember that college, and spark an interest and maybe attend. So,
absolutely. So how many kids are in the program district-wide, roughly?
56.
56. Wow, that was a pretty definite number.
Yeah,
so, that's a good number for a school this size, for sure.
They generally say, figuratively speaking, the top, 10%.
Right.
So, because you don't want to over-identify.
Right.
But you sure don't want to under-identify.
Oh,
exactly.
Definitely not.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, if we don't want to miss a student, like I said, that has the opportunity to, do something that they love.
Yeah.
So when you started out in your career in education, was GT even on the table for you?
No.
Didn't even think about it.
Huh?
No.
And in fact, I didn't even really want to be a teacher from the beginning. And like when I graduated high school, growing up, I wasn't ever like, oh, I want to be a teacher. I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. My love for animals is great. But when I was in 11th grade, I had my English teacher. She forced me to read The Great Gatsby.
Right.
And so that's when it sparked, because I thought, I never really was a reader. I'm a math person. I'd rather you give me a whole book of math questions
Right.
than force me to sit down and read.
Yeah.
But anyways, we had to read The Great Gatsby, and I loved it.
Right. Yeah.
And I saw kind of like just the spark, you know, and sometimes kids don't like to do things like I said, but if you can, you know,
you can find
engage their interest and stuff, it's just rewarding.
Yeah,
It's very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's what I was going to say. You hit on something. We usually talk about that a little bit, but is that one teacher, you know, that kind of inspired you or got you headed down that direction or any other direction.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And the cool thing about the position you're in probably is like you're saying with 56 kids, K-12, I mean, think of the impact you get to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, 56 kids, you know, is a lot, but, I mean, for one person. But, you know, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's a good number.
Oh, yeah.
And especially being in the small district, I have built a lot of good relationships with parents. And being here, you know, with next year being my 16th year, I've either taught their aunt or their uncle or their brother or their sister, or they know somebody that was in my classroom.
Right.
You know, so it's good to, you know, that's what I like about, you know, the small.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know kids by names, even though I don't service them.
Yeah.
You know, if I walk down the hall, you know, good morning, so-and-so, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and parents really kind of like that comfort,
for
too.
sure. Yeah, I think so.
You know.
Yeah.
She doesn't service my kid, but she knows who they are.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
so, yeah, building relationships is super important.
Super.
That's the key,
like,
right?
You're preaching to the choir with us right here.
Yeah, relationships.
Yep.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. You know, a lot of times kids aren't going to remember the content we teach them. I mean, it's important. I mean, it is important,
right.
but you got to build those relationships.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're not going to learn from you at all.
That's right.
So you talked about that teacher in 11th grade that impacted you. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to go back and relay that to her, but taking it to even to your level, have you had a student yet that comes back and says, hey, you know, this is what you did for me yet?
Yeah, it's sometimes I have a lot of students come back and they tend to relay the message to me that you cared.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's, you know,
Yep.
you cared about me on that day that I had a bad day, and I'll never forget that. And so I haven't really had a kid come back and say, you know, I want to be a teacher or something, you know, because you inspired me. But I have a lot that come back, and especially, you know, the district, you know, that I'm in, Mountain Pine, sometimes kids come to school to be loved.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And offering that to some kids is more important to me than, you know, making sure that, you know, they learned how to find the slope of a line.
Well, and you know, Bobby Bones is from here.
That's right.
Say, hey, guys, look at this guy who struggled growing up and didn't have the best, you know, home life. And, you know, look where he is.
Look at him now.
Look
for sure.
The work he put in. And
Anything's possible. That's
right.
Sure,
yeah. I try to encourage them to want more for themselves.
Absolutely.
You've got to want more, you know. Break the cycle, break the tradition, want more for yourself.
That's right.
You know, see, you know, hardships that you've come through, and, you know, better yourself education-wise or, you know, trade school-wise to just, you know, not have to, if you have a future family, not have, you know, the struggles and stuff with your, you know, that you had growing up. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, now we'll get into the part we like, just, you know, some let's have fun questions. So
yeah, he's like, oh, we not talk about.
We always try to get to.
Were you in GT? Let me interrupt you.
No. Me? No.
I wasn't either.
No.
I know that you might think that I was.
No.
Because you know that I'm just so smart.
Never once have I had that thought, you know. And I can say, as old as I am, it may or may not have been around. I don't know. But
yeah,
it
was around.
But I can promise you, I never thought you to be GT.
No. Now, my sister was in GT, but she's way more creative and she's smarter than me. I'll admit it.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But the only creative part of me is writing poems. That's about all I can do. That's it. Can't draw.
Yeah.
think.
I wasn't in
Yeah, she'll
GT
spit
either.
around just like Eminem.
That's right.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead to the.
Well, yeah, back to you instead of Candace. You see what I deal with all the time?
No, she's stealing the
I
spotlight.
know.
Exactly. Hey, she's the guest.
I know. I know.
Okay.
And you
okay.
know, I forgot to tell you this. She's on our teacher center committee at the co-op.
Yes.
And we appreciate her being on there.
Okay, so she knows you then. So
yeah.
She knows
Yes.
it's all about
Yeah,
you.
she knows.
Okay.
Yeah, she knows.
All right.
Yeah.
So, what my question was going to be, share with us an embarrassing moment as a teacher. And I'm sure you've had at least one, right?
Yeah, several.
Yeah, right.
She
right.
said several, which can I share?
You're among friends, so just share away. Yeah, you're good to go here.
Yeah.
Besides the walking out of the bathroom with the toilet paper stuck to your shoe.
Oh, yeah.
Or
That's a common one, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Or, those plastic hard chairs and you toot and then blame it on someone else.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
Yeah.
Listen, how many times have we talked about passing gas on this podcast?
Let me tell you.
It is.
That's more popular than you know. Yeah.
It's the plastic chair.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
plastic chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, my favorite one was we were talking to a guy and he was in middle school and he said, these two kids are about to go at it and he had to pull them out in the hall and said, fellas, look, it was me. So, calm down a little bit.
Yeah, and sometimes, when you walk by a student and
Yeah.
just kind of a silent.
Yeah.
But then, everyone's
Yeah.
like, I'm like,
exactly.
it was him.
That's right. Yeah.
It was
Exactly.
him.
Did you
Yeah.
do that again?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Exactly.
And then, you're like,
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
I love this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So,
Oh.
it's there's just
Several.
some. I've always said I wish I would have started a book from the beginning and wrote down things that children say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
man, oh man, sometimes I tell my husband, so and so said this, and he's like, "Where did that even come from?" I'm like, "I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
But kids say the darndest things,
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah. Oh,
and they're
absolutely.
blatantly honest.
Yeah, that's the thing I would say that I have to say I love about it is the fact
Yeah.
that they are so honest.
I know, I
mean,
love
it's, unadulterated truth.
You can't let it hurt your feelings.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Got to
That's
be
what
thick
Darren
skin.
says all the
You just
time.
can't-
Listen, learn to laugh at yourself.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
like,
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. Because at the end of the day, everybody else is, right?
I mean,
so
why not,
That's,
you know?
yeah, that's how I look at it. So
when a kid walks up to you and they're like, "Miss Munroe, are you having a bad day?" I'm like, "Well, I wasn't, but why do you ask?" I'm like, "Well, you just look a little tired today."
yeah,
Is that a polite way of saying I look, terrible today?
yeah.
I'm going to remember that the next time Katie asks me if I look tired.
I'm like, "Well, I was running a little late this morning."
Yeah. And now that you mentioned it,
Yeah,
right?
it's a polite way of saying you look bad.
She said I'm not going to ask anymore.
So when you're not teaching, what do you like to do outside of school? What's your?
I grew up riding horses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so my family and I have switched over to mules. We love to go trail riding. I've been out
Right.
west,
Yeah.
riding in New Mexico and
Yeah.
Colorado and
That's
stuff
awesome.
like that. So,
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
yeah, I've always been into the equine part of life.
Well, you
so.
mentioned the mules. I'm dating myself again. I don't know if they still do it or not, but
Let's hear it.
the old donkey basketball they used to do. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's still a thing, but man, that was crazy.
I think we had that come to Mountain Pine once several years ago.
Yeah, but as a kid, I can remember, the teachers and coaches getting out there and just getting thrown off. Now back then they didn't
I never
they didn't have
witnessed
the
this.
protective helmets or elbow pads or any of that stuff. I mean, they were just getting slung around everywhere. But it was always a good time to be had by everybody.
I never wore the protective either.
Oh, you didn't?
No, my dad always said it's too far away from your heart to kill you.
Right. Oh yeah.
You're gonna be fine,
Yeah.
and figure it out
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
My sister
Yeah.
and I did horse shows. We were very blessed. I had a great childhood and stuff. But having something that you're passionate about like that
Right.
teaches yourself a lot of discipline,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
a lot of responsibility,
Yep.
Right.
And if you enjoy it, it's not work.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You'll never work a day in your life.
Yep.
You're absolutely right.
That's right.
So,
although I do feel like I work several days.
Yeah.
Not every day. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, there is that collective sigh of relief. At the end of every school year. I mean, because you put so much into it, and you're like, whew. Give me a chance.
Little
get
break.
A little bit of a breath, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you feel like you're not going to make it to the end, and then when you finally get there, it's great. And but I will tell you, with Mount Pine being on a 4-day,
has that been wonderful?
This year has flown by.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, just flown by.
Yeah.
But I think it also gives not only the students but teachers and parents that opens a day.
Yeah.
For an extra day that you're not doing chores at home, and you're, if you have things like I did, horse showing and stuff.
Sure.
That gives you the day.
Yep.
To enjoy things and spend some time with your family and friends.
So let's talk about the 4-day school week for a little bit. I mean, were you apprehensive at all beforehand, and has your mindset shifted since you guys have been doing it?
Well, I thought working 4 days a week, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And really we only extended our school day by, an hour.
Right.
Because we're on minutes now instead of
right.
make sure we
chose
get
that option. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really apprehensive about it. The one that the calendar I was and I still am is the year round.
Right.
And for good reason, because if you're out a week every month per se, childcare's hard. But also, how excited we all get about a week of spring break.
Oh yeah.
The last couple of days before spring break, it's woo, and everyone's riled up, ready for the week. And if you're riled up, ready for a week off every month, and then when you get back, kids, you always have to discuss their routines and revisit the rules and stuff like that. So the reason I was a little apprehensive about year round is just there's a lot of time
pieces,
transition time that you're having to use. So but I think 4-day is, we like it here.
So you guys are Tuesday through Friday, right?
Yeah. We discussed Monday through Thursday, but one of the reasons Mount Pine switched was to hopefully help absenteeism,
right? Not
only in the students, but the staff.
Have you seen it? Has it helped with the absenteeism? Some.
I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I definitely think it's helped with the staff.
Right. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
And so, but Fridays, your dentist office might be closed, and doctors leave at noon, and so that was one of the reasons we picked Monday. But and then our students that do sports and stuff on Friday, they're already here,
right?
Because sometimes our students lack of transportation, and so can't get here, and stuff like that. So the only kids, some of them that hurt is the college kids.
Oh yeah.
Right. Getting transportation,
sure,
to college. So. But we're liking it. We're doing it again next year.
Awesome.
Good. Good deal.
So what about playlists in your car? If we were to jump in there and turn on your radio and hear your playlist, what would it consist of?
90s country.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, girl after my own heart.
One of his faves.
That's when I was in radio. It was 90-ish, but
I can't sometimes even remember the password that I just created yesterday.
Right.
But somehow when that music
three notes in.
Listen, I know all the lyrics.
Yeah.
All of them.
I heard, I don't know if it was on the radio. I guess it was radio maybe. They said something about people tend to, that's what you gravitate toward, is what you listen to a lot when you were younger.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I like everything, but I do love some, 80s hair band.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up Doja Cat again. Good Lord.
Doja Cat, I like Doja Cat, okay. But I'm just saying, I love me some, Def Leppard and Bon
I want to be
Jovi.
able to understand the words.
Exactly.
I need to hear the words.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I don't need to hear the words.
I'm all about a good beat. Yeah, but
good beat. Yeah,
but,
that's good.
but
Yeah.
you're right. To hear the words once in a while and understand them would,
Yeah, I'm like, what did they even say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff I laughed that they call country today, but
Oh.
that's my age, I guess. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
Yeah.
But I like some
And
of the newer guys too.
Who was it that, is it Beyonce? That
Yeah,
just came out with a-
yeah.
Yeah, I like
country
it.
song?
I don't know though. I mean,
She's
like
got a whole
I
country
like some
album.
Beyonce. So,
I'm
and
just
have you
having-
heard her sing Jolene? Because it's really good.
No, I haven't.
It's really good.
Yeah, she does a good job with
I'm
it.
just struggling with the thought of it.
No,
Yeah.
I love
I think
it.
it's
I'm telling
thought.
you, you need to listen to Jolene. She did it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, she-
Dolly did like an intro for her. It's so cute. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
really good.
I'm ready for her to
Very-
release another song. What's the one that's out now? Everybody's doing their little, TikTok dance to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Texas Hold'em.
Yeah,
Is that the
that's
one?
it.
That's,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm.
I listened to Jolene the other day. It's good.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
need to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, any parting words of advice before we wrap it up here? I mean, if let's just say we've got a young person out there contemplating getting into the profession, what would you tell them?
You got to love it
Mm-hmm.
and you got to be dedicated.
Right. Right.
And you got to have self drive. You got to put forth effort.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think this
Yep.
profession probably more than any. That's a great point. The more you put into it,
Yep.
the more
More
you're
you're gonna get out of it.
That is so
Absolutely.
true.
This is
100%.
not a job to sit around with your feet propped up eating your bonbons.
That's
Yeah.
right. Teaching ain't for sissies. I've said that for a long
it is
time.
not for the faint of heart.
No.
For sure. Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes work. It takes
It-
effort.
It does, and the thing is, the thing that I appreciate about probably one of the top three things about teaching is that ability to model to your kids, and like you're saying,
They're like sponges.
oh, they are.
Everything you say, everything you do.
And some of the as far as work ethic, those kinds of things, again, it goes back to exposure. So
Yep.
Yeah. And if you get into it and you lose your passion,
get out.
it's time
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because not only are you making
That's right.
yourself miserable,
Yeah.
you're making your whole classroom miserable.
Yes.
Well, we,
Yep.
Yeah. If you don't enjoy it anymore, find
Yeah.
something you do.
Yep.
yeah, because kids
Yes.
can see right through that. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And 9 times out of 10, like you say, that they'll have a quick way to ground you with it by asking, "Are you tired? Are you mad? What's wrong?" Those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
kids can see
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time today. I know
thanks.
you're busy and keep up the great work.
Yes,
Thanks
enjoyed it.
for coming. I really
Yeah.
appreciate
Oh,
it.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
And like I said, keep inspiring those kids because we need it, and we need future teachers too.
That's right.
And
That's
the passion is the big piece.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
thanks
That's
again.
right. Thanks. I
All
appreciate
right.
y'all coming.
All right. Well, that's
Thinking
gonna,
about me.
That's
Yes.
going to wrap up this edition of Spilling the Tea from Studio D. I'm Darren Beckwith, and that is Candy, a Slim.
Devil Darren.
I was
Is that
trying
what
to
we're going
think
to
what
start
we've
saying?
been calling. Well, okay, String
Devil
Bean.
Darren.
We'll go back to
String
String
Bean.
Bean. Yeah.
String bean.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
Devil
right.
Darren.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Devil Darren.
Yeah. So until next time and the next edition, we'll see you on Spilling the Tea in Studio D.